Welcome to Power Fridays Live, the channel that aims to make a difference in the world through transformation, spiritual growth, and for entrepreneurs. Our vision is to empower individuals to live their lives with purpose and to make a positive impact on the world. We believe that power and purpose are the driving forces behind success and fulfillment in both personal and professional life. Through our broadcast, we discuss business strategies and techniques that can help entrepreneurs achieve their goals and take their business to the next level. We believe that through sharing knowledge and experience, we can empower each other to succeed and make a difference in the world. Now here's our host, Janelle Pulley.
Hi, good evening. Welcome to Financial Power Fridays Live. Welcome to Financial Power Fridays Live. I'm your host, Janelle Pulley, and I'm so happy to have you join me this evening. And where we focus on the actionable steps to enhance your well being and personal growth with transformative self care strategies to enhance your wealth. I am so excited that we're diving into Self Care Awareness Month and Self Improvement Month. And joining me today is Yolanda Brisbane, a community engagement specialist. How are you doing this evening,
I
Yolanda?
am wonderful, wonderful, and loving your topic. So, whenever you're ready, we could jump right in. I'm feeling good, and I hope you are. And I hope everyone that is listening in and tuning in with us, I hope everyone out there is feeling good as well. And if you're not feeling so good, hopefully by the time you leave us this evening, you'll be feeling much better.
Yes, we are hoping that we will feel much, much better. As we talk about Self Care Awareness Month in the month of September, we know that we're celebrating a lot of awarenesses this month. And let's start with self care. And let's talk about what self care truly means to us and why it's
Yeah.
essential.
Yeah. Someone could say that self care means something different for everyone. There's a place where it's the same thing at the basic level, right? That self care is taking intentional time for yourself, right? Whether it's your spiritual being, your physical being, your mental being. We hear a lot of people now talking about mental wellness and mental health. Um, but there's a place where it all comes together, the physical, the spiritual, and the mental. And if one is not being fulfilled, it impacts all the other areas. So it's about being whole, not being perfect or having the perfect settings, but being whole and having balance. And at a certain point, I'm quite sure I will share a little bit of my journey with self care during previous years, and then a place where I forgot about me. So, this is about transparency and empowerment, and we are empowered when others share their stories, and we're not pretentious and we don't act as if we have everything all together. So that's it at a basic level. So it's, reduces stress, right? There's so many things in life that cause us to feel stressed or be stressed. It improves your overall well being, right? And
Yes.
it helps us to avoid burnout. How many of us are burned out because of work, social obligations? Sometimes we overcommit, right? And we're stressed out, we're burned out, we're trying to be two places at one time, and yet we're one person. And at the end of the day, that's what we want to remember. We're one person, right? And that's the first person we need to take care of.
Exactly, exactly. And as we've heard many, many times, that when you're in an airplane, when the person is telling you the where the exits are on the airplane, and they tell you when that mask dropped down, who are we supposed to put
Mhm.
that mask on? Put it on ourselves first, right? Before we can start, helping others. So we're gonna be on that airplane ride tonight, putting that mask on first so that we can definitely have this conversation to help others. And I know a lot of people have different morning routines, right? And first thing you do in the morning, first thing I do is pray when I wake up. And
Hmm.
before put my feet on the ground, I say a prayer. So I do think about my relationship with God first before I take on the world. And sometimes I don't get to schedule me because in this conversation, I'm talking to myself tonight too. And scheduling me time I found to be difficult, but I now do take that 10 minutes a day of me time. And today I took 3 hours of me time
Woo,
because
girl.
I went shopping. I went shopping. I had to pick up a t-shirt from this a location, and it was not far, but then when you think about driving in the area where I have to drive, it's just like, oh my gosh, traffic. And so I'm in traffic, and I have to think about, meditate even in traffic sometimes, where it's like I'm not in a rush. The building that I'm going
Mm,
to is not going anywhere, so that I won't feel overwhelmed and anxious in that moment because the traffic in front of me, I'm seeing red. Okay.
mhm.
And so practicing that mindfulness is very important, and even behind the wheel of a car, I find myself practicing mindfulness. And
Yes,
what about you?
absolutely. I want to go back to that piece on the airplane, right? Put your own oxygen mask on first. Sometimes that's difficult for us to even hear that, right? Let's think about traveling with a child. Your first
Mm,
instinct as that guardian is to protect the child. And let me make sure that child is okay first. But guess what? You can put that mask on that child, but that child needs you to help them the rest of the way. So you have to put yours on first so that you can properly take care of the child. But a lot of times we think we're doing the best thing by taking care of other people and neglecting ourselves. And at a certain point, you're no good for them or yourself. So that is such a wonderful analogy that we sometimes overuse. But I like the fact that you put it out there, Janelle, because we often forget to put our own mask on first. And absolutely, mindfulness is critical. That's something that I lost at one point. I
mm,
used to be very mindful of me and taking those moments to pause, not because something was wrong, but just because I wanted to,
mm-hmm.
and I stopped scheduling that time, right? You spoke about in the morning, first thing when you wake up. That's how I spend most of my mornings before I do anything. Sometimes I just look at the ceiling and smile and say a prayer, and sometimes I don't, right?
Mm.
When
Yes.
I was going through a rut, oh, I was jumping up and doing all of these things, and I would pause and say, "Wait a minute, how are you going to get through this?" And you didn't stop to give God thanks or get grounded. It's going to hit you later in the day. I knew that, but I would sometimes keep going. So absolutely, praying, doesn't matter what your religious background or your spirituality level is, it's a conversation with God, that creator. And whoever that is for you, be in communication first thing in the morning before you start talking to other people, because you don't know what those conversations are going to be like, right? So that's where
Right.
protecting your aura and your energy before you start conversating with other people. Meditation is always wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And we sometimes think meditations have to be long. I'm working with a coach right now. We do a 1 minute piece at the beginning of our sessions and 1 minute at the end. And girl, it feels like it's 15 minutes. I get lost in that one.
Yes.
I get lost. And setting boundaries. A lot of times when we're stressed, no one's doing it to us. It's
Mm-hmm.
all us.
Yes, yes,
We
yes.
cause our own stress because we're not setting boundaries. Yolanda, we want you to be here. Yolanda, can you be here? At one point, Yolanda was saying yes to everything. And I was
Mm-hmm.
crazy. And I was huffing and puffing. And I can't be there. And, why are they calling me? But you had a choice. And you could have said, I can't this time. But again, you wanted to make people happy and be there for people. Engaging in physical activity. I don't know about you, Janelle. I've always been up and down on that ladder. There's times in my life where I've done better.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and as a woman that's aging gracefully, um,
Yes.
I remember the older women would tell me back in the day, yeah, that might be okay right now, but be mindful because when you get older, it's harder to
Mm-hmm.
take it off. And I
Yeah.
would sit there and eat a piece of candy and laugh.
I
Oh,
know, I know.
I
It's
lost
like now we
5 pounds. Hey, I lost 5 pounds in 2 days, girl. Let me
oh,
tell you.
uh-huh.
Yeah, that's about a month right
Back in the day. Back in
That's
the day.
right. So it's taking the time. I have the utmost respect for, I'm speaking about women right now, women who are consistent in taking care of their physical bodies. I have girlfriends that I went to college with, and they look like they had work done, and they didn't have any work done. They put the work in,
Yes.
and it's been a constant for them, and it shows. And I always, admire that woman who never forgot to stop working on herself, and it shows. And when we see them, we need to clap for them.
Clap,
We don't,
clap,
we don't,
clap.
we don't drink haterade over here. We need to clap for them, take a bow, and like, girl, you got it going on, and be inspired by that. So I just started working out again.
Hmm.
Right? And it's, yeah. So go on.
And,
That's
and
those
you
are my
you have
tips.
more than a gym membership. That means, like, oh yeah, I got a gym membership. But I found that if you don't have the money to have a gym membership, walk around your neighborhood.
That's
It's
it.
free to walk
That's it.
in community. Walk in your community. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. And walking is the best exercise.
Yeah.
Walking, jogging. Now, I do have one of those protective vests if I choose to walk at night
Hmm.
or like that. I have a protective vest that I like to wear so people will see me. So I see the car and walk on the opposite side. If we grew up, we learned walk on the opposite side of the road. So the cars coming towards you you'll see them, they'll see you versus walking with your back to the, traffic
Yes.
that's heading the same direction that you are. So you want to walk the opposite, and that's very important. And I find myself that I do have a gym membership. I do have a commitment to myself to walk 3.2 miles, which is 5K, do a 5K a day to keep the doctor away, or to, to keep
Yes.
myself healthy. But at least 3 times a week, the doctor says to work out, but it's encouraged for 5 times out of 7 days, and
Yes.
to take those 2 days of rest for your body. So
Yes.
I do encourage exercise. Walking is my preferred form of exercise, but I do have that thing in the garage to where you are pulling the everything down. I forgot what it's called, but your legs
Yes. I know what you're
on
talking
there,
about.
and then
Yes.
you're like moving, and then you're pulling, and then your legs are moving at the same time. I do have one of those in the garage. It's not being used right now, but I know that now it's fall, nice weather. I can pull it out, do my thing for like 15, 20, 30 minutes. 30 minutes a day. That's all we need
Right.
to give ourselves. 10 minutes, 30
Right.
minutes. That meditation time. I'm glad you mentioned that earlier, because there's a lot of meditations that are free on YouTube channel, right?
Absolutely.
I listen to the meditations. I have to go through a talking meditation to in order to meditate. And one of the congregations that I attend, they have an 8 a.m. meditation on Sunday mornings,
Beautiful.
and they do have on a Wednesday evenings, and they have a meditation as well. So I try to tap into those channels virtually to when people are going through meditations, and so that I can go through my meditations as well. And it's usually a guided meditation. I
Yeah.
have not mastered my own time, my own meditation, and getting into my own thoughts, as some people often do with meditation. I haven't mastered that yet, but I'm considering it.
That's okay. You know what? It's always, when we talk about self care, it's constant, it's ongoing. Sometimes you're a little more up and down. The key, what I believe, is to find balance, that you don't let it go altogether. So
Right.
maybe you traditionally do a 20-minute meditation or 30 minutes, but today you did a 10-minute. At least you are present, and you took the time to pause. One of the other things, it's getting a little dark where I'm at. One of the other things am I dark over there to you,
Yes,
Janelle?
you're a
All
shadow
right.
right
So
now.
let's take a second. You could keep the party rolling. I'm going to switch up a little bit, okay?
Okay, so we will go to the commercial. Yes, yes. And thank you so much for joining Financial Power Fridays Live. Welcome this evening. I'm your host, Janelle Pulley, and we are celebrating self-care. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about just the balance. It's not about being perfect, it's being balanced. And something that I was neglecting was sleep.
Oh, yes.
Sleep. There was a time that I would burn that oil at the candle at both ends of the stick, and I'd be good to go, right? But that was some years ago. At the end of the day, that wasn't even healthy.
Mm-mm.
Even though I was still functioning at a high level, it wasn't the healthiest way to do it. And more recently, I was trying to do the same thing that
Mm.
I was doing many years ago, and it's different, right? It's
Mm.
not that we're old, but you're not 25, 30, 35, 40, 45 anymore. So, there's a little shift that happens. I just started being mindful even with my sleep
Mm.
and
Yes.
honoring my body, and being kind to my body to say, take your rest for the night. And let me tell you, when I wake up in the morning, what a world of difference. I thought I was doing okay because I was still doing it, but it
Yes.
wasn't okay. So now when I'm waking up, oh, I just feel heavenly. And you know what? I just want to also say mindfulness is also intentionally looking good,
Mm. Oh, okay.
right? Diva means so many different things. There was a time in life that I felt the most beautiful and the sexiest when I woke up first thing in the morning. I would look
Yes.
in that mirror and be like, girl,
Yes.
shifted a little bit, right? But I
Yes.
remember I would wake up in the morning, and that's when I felt the most beautiful when I looked in that mirror first thing in the morning. No makeup, no nothing. And it's just important to look good. And I'm looking at you. I'm loving your lipstick. You're going to have to share what that color is. You're going to have to share that
Oh, yes,
if
yes.
you choose, if you choose.
Oh,
But I'm
I'm gonna have to
loving
share
it.
that in chat because they're not paying me to say who it
Oh,
is.
come on now. Don't give it to them then. All right. But yeah, you send it to me in the chat.
Yes.
So
Yes.
sleep is important also, and just taking your rest.
Yes.
There are people that I know that take naps. I remember going to school with people in elementary school or junior high school. They would take naps. And we would look at them like, oh, you're a big baby. Who takes a nap at this age? But very strategic, very important. And I know
Yes.
adults who take intentional naps during the day. And guess what? They're more productive.
Mm.
There are
Well,
jobs that offer power naps, right? They let you do a power nap at your desk.
really?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Oh,
Well,
yeah.
I know, I do a power nap and I set an alarm sometimes, but not every day do I do that. And I look for myself to get at least 7 hours. My
Mm,
doctor tells me you need 7 hours of sleep, seven at least. I said, it's not 8 o'clock, eight anymore. I said,
mm.
but my body is at its most rest at 10 hours of sleep.
Oh,
When
wow.
I get 10 hours of sleep, I'm fully rested, but 7 hours is minimum, 8 hours is optimal, and of course my body dictates, hey, 10 hours, because
Wow.
I used to run on, like you said earlier, 4 hours of sleep a night. I used to run on that, and I was running, I was up in the morning, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I was in my car, I was driving to a whole nother town back in the day. And
Yes.
I would be there. I'd leave my house at 4, and I need to be there in 3 hours. I'd get there by 7, 7:30. I would drive 3 hours in the morning, like at 5 or 6, 4, 5,
Right.
6 o'clock in the morning to get to where I needed to be. And then I would run and then get home at midnight and then get right and go to sleep and get right back up and do it all over again 4 hours
Yeah.
later.
Yes.
And it did take a wear and tear on my body. And I can feel it now. But at the end of the day, I am more conscientious to where I need to take that time out. And yesterday was one of those days where I was overwhelming myself unnecessarily, might I add. And I didn't say, hey, go out, go walk. I didn't make myself do that. And knowing that I was coming on the show today to talk about self care and self awareness, I was like aware that I needed self-care and I didn't do that. And so now I will have to make up that time. Instead of the 3.5, 3.2 miles, then I'm going to do at least 5 miles in the park. I'm going to walk and make up that time that I did not do what I promised myself to do. And when I say promising myself, I'm talking to me and I'm talking to everyone really to share.
Yes.
If I make a promise to myself, I want to keep that promise. I want to be within integrity with myself.
Mm,
And that's what self care to me is all about, having integrity with myself to say
mm,
to me that I'm
mm,
putting me 1st.
mm.
That's having integrity for me.
I like that.
Yes.
I like that. One of the things I want to speak about is sisterhood.
Yes. Yes.
Sisterhood.
Yes.
You know what? Let's say sisterhood and brotherhood.
Yes.
I previously said I'm speaking about women because we are women, but I'm sure there's some brothers that are on right now or will be. So I'm just talking friendship.
Yes.
There's scripture that says, as iron sharpens iron, so one brother, one friend sharpens another. And you and I spoke yesterday, and I knew there was some stress there.
Oh.
And at one point, I could feel it. I just said, okay. And it was a little quiet on the phone.
Hmm.
And I just took a deep breath for you. But
Thank
what
you.
we have to also do, whether it's our sister friends, brother friends, it could be two sisters, two brothers, or opposite. If there's a relationship, sometimes we have to also encourage that other person to take a moment, right? You know
Hmm.
what? I think I may have said something like, just breathe, or,
Yes, you did tell me. Just breathe because I called you back after having called you back.
yeah, yeah.
And
And that's okay. That's okay.
I
I
couldn't
could
remember
hear
that
it.
I had called you back. So
I
yeah.
could hear it in your voice, and I knew. And that's why I was just a little more quiet, just to give you that time. And we have to do that. When we know someone is feeling a little bit overwhelmed,
Mm,
think about your own self care. You don't have to fix it for them, but you could give them that little space and time and just say, let's take a few minutes and just breathe.
mhm.
And that may go very far for that other person that you're either on the phone with or that you're sitting in front of. Someone did that to me before. Coach Dino, that we both work with.
Yes,
We were
yes.
we were doing something. I think we were in a boardroom in the incubator, and I was going. I must have been rambling because he said, "You know what? Let's take a minute, pause,
Yes.
and do some breathing." And that's important for us to do for one another. So I'm loving the fact that you're doing this topic because you're a financial guru, right?
Yes.
And we're used to you talking about that money and wealth building, which is a part of self care also. And I
Yes.
just want to touch on that and honor who you are in this space and what your expertise is as that financial expert that helps people, individuals, families, couples to build generational wealth. The reason why I just wanted to touch it a little bit, Janelle, is because if we're not okay and honoring our bodies and our spirits and our energy and ourselves, we're not going to honor that money either. It all comes together.
Mhm.
Those
Yes.
people that do self care well, I guarantee you, their money is well too.
That's true. That is so true because they take care of holistically speaking, they take care of themselves holistically and not stressing over money. Money is a huge stressor, and the self-care piece and the health is your wealth is what I preach, and I
Mm,
look at my health being equaling my wealth because if your health isn't good, then how can your money be good in that
yes.
regard? And I always focus on having people look at the opportunity that they have for self care and self improvement and how that can translate into their finances
Mm,
because finances is a stressor. You can I don't know if there's anybody out there that want to put something in the chat and want to say amen in the be in the amen corner on this, but that is a huge stress and for some people in some people's lives, and how to manage that and managing your stress is part of managing your self-care because
yes.
when you do come up under stress, then you want to take a pause, like you said before, take a moment, take a breath, and really sit back and breathe and get centered. Centering yourselves is like really important. So centering yourselves, focusing on yourself, and then being able to focus on what business is at hand. And
Mhm.
you may want to start out on every Sunday to do a create a practice for yourself and a daily practice for yourself for that matter. And in the morning, me and a friend were journaling for 15 minutes silently every morning, dedicated in your book. I have my book, and
Yes.
we take that 15 minutes, but then at the same time I look at, yes, today was payday. On payday, or whatever your payday is, if it's every day, that's a really good
Right,
thing, right?
right.
But to look at where I am, where am I financially? To know,
Mm,
well, where can I be? Because then, if I have to be alive to get that paycheck for my family to take care of the things that I need to take care of for my household.
mm.
So you want to definitely make sure that you are healthy, wealthy, as they say, early to bed, early to rise
Yes,
makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise.
that's
That's in
right.
my
And it's
book.
true. It's a fact.
It's a
That's
fact.
true.
It's in my book. It's in my book.
Yes.
Money just flew out the
Go out the
window.
window. Yes.
Yes, and everything. And so we did get an amen in the corner.
Come on,
Okay, thank
Timothy
you,
Elliott. That's right.
Timothy, for that. And that's our brother. And we make sure, and we're gonna say take a moment for him, because he's dealing with something, right? And that family is important. Family values are important. So when you think about self-care, you think about caring for yourself to where you can care for your family.
Hmm.
That's my friend who's a family man. He's a new grandfather, and we're super happy and excited for him and his family growing and having healthy babies. That's very important, but it takes you to take care of yourself first to be able to be there for someone else in their time of need and in their time of challenge. And I was just talking this morning with some people in my financial community, and
Hmm.
we were talking about self caring for elderly, caring for our parents
Yeah.
specifically. And you can speak and attest to this, being a caregiver, and we're at that stage in our lives where we're caring for our elderly parents and they have a need. So we have to take time for ourselves to be able to be strong, to be there for them. I cared for my dad before he passed for 3 months, him and my mom both. And, I woke up making breakfast. Oh, it felt so good being like a little kid and with my
Yes.
parents' house, waking up again. But it was like I had to make sure that I slept well, and I had to make sure that I was attentive, and I had to make sure that I was focused and centered. And of course, as we start out our day, being centered in God and being that for ourselves of what we need to be, and seeking our refuge in Him to where we have the
Hmm.
strength to
Come on.
carry through to help someone else. So I was very happy and pleased, and that's something else to take a note about, to look at the opportunity in caring for our loved ones, and being that caregiver that we need to be, to make sure that we're good. Because I did have a family member who died of a heart attack caring for our aunt.
Yes.
And that was the last thing we expected to happen, is of him having passing away from a heart attack, my cousin. And here he's being the caregiver and of someone, and it was just so devastating to my family. And it's just like, oh my gosh. But he took care of my aunt, our aunt, I should say, and in a great way, in a great fashion. But then we have to make sure that it's not at the detriment of ourselves. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying, anything bad about him and how he was living his life, but him being that caregiver. So, and it happened to another cousin of mine. She passed away in her sleep, and caring for her mother. But her mother lived to be over 90, beautiful,
Hmm.
and it was just amazing. But sometimes you don't want to be that. You want to be caring for yourselves enough to where you can be that person and the care for your loved one.
Yeah, you know what? And that person normally wouldn't want you to go to that extent. And I can attest to that. My mom is, that's just my everything,
Yes.
and she's been battling for some years, but she's such a warrior. So no matter what, my brother has a saying about her, no matter what gets put on her plate, she eats it, right?
Yes.
Because she's going to take that challenge down and persevere and be triumphant. But she had a stroke about a year and a half ago, and she's got some other medical things going on. But even with that, she's a fighter. So we've been through a lot over the years. But more recently, it became a little bit more intense because she lost the ability to verbalize. But she's sharp, is fully aware, and I share all of that to say it can take a toll because you're helping that person fight for their life. But you
Yes.
have to always remember. I lost sight of self care for a while, and I knew I did. And I was in even greater communication with God, just constantly asking Him to Give me that strength to get through this because I know this is going to pass. I
Yes.
have a 10-year-old also, so being mindful that I'm there for her also, and being mindful of how she sees me handling it, right?
Yes.
Then my brother was battling kidney illness and underwent a transplant and stayed with me for 6 weeks because he was called to the hospital where I am, and we made it through. Right, so I
Yes.
was between school, helping him rehab through the transplant, process, and then making sure, my mom was in a nursing facility. I share all of that to say you may hit moments where you don't come first. That's reality, but you have to always in the back of your mind remember there's you, so you don't go too far. And self care means having a village.
Yes.
You better have a village or you don't have self care. If you don't have a village, your self care is not real because that means you're really asking for burnout. And there were times that my mom had to be watched 24 hours when she was in the hospital. And I had a team come in. We did
Yeah.
round robins. Them sisters came in, they stood guard because the hospital really didn't care. It was a bad situation. They stood
Yes.
guard, and I was able to go home and get that rest and do a little bit of self care. So it won't always be perfect, but always remember you in the background. Even if you have to go behind the scenes and put some of your self care on hold, just don't forget you're there. And every time you look in that mirror, remember, I see you, right? I would say to
Yes.
myself, girl, I see you. And I would say to myself sometimes, you look bad.
Oh.
You're not looking good right now. You got to get this together. And it took time. But once again, I picked up the phone and called in for some help from another village. Like, look, I need someone to help me move through this process. And that becomes your journey, right? You could now really talk about self care to someone else. And no, it's not always pretty, it's not always perfect, but the bottom line is not forgetting you. That's the biggest thing. And then
Yes.
I think we both did the Say Yes to You challenge where you're learning, right, to say yes to yourself again. That's
Yes.
important because I found there was little things I was missing. I love to write. I wasn't writing anymore. I make shea butter products. I stopped making my shea butter, and I
Oh, wow.
making it again. And girl, I
Mm.
feel so good. One of my daughters looked at me. She said, "What's going on with you? You're glowing." I won't say
Yes.
the other part that she asked me, but she's like, "Girl, you're glowing." Y'all can figure it out. We're all adults. She
Oh,
said,
yes.
"Girl, you're glowing. What's happening?" I told her it was just my shea butter. She didn't believe it, right?
Yes.
So, and that's when you know you're taking good care of yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
I see Felicia Boyce Young. I have definitely been there. Felicia, girl, I hope that even if you were there, you got back to you. It's okay. Sometimes we do forget, but just
Yes.
always remember yourself.
Yes.
A, she said we have to normalize self care. That's the part
Yes.
right there, Janelle. You talk about that part.
Oh my goodness. What can I say about we have to normalize
Normalizing it.
self-care. Normalize it. And I thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Financial Power Fighters Live. We're talking about self care and self improvement, the practices that we can take apart our daily lives. And like you mentioned earlier, Yolanda, delegating tasks to others when possible. You had your team. Indeed, that was needed. And that is one of the ways that we can improve upon our self care. Focusing on ourselves in such a way to where we set aside time for ourselves. I don't set an alarms clock and set
Mhm.
time each day. I'm not saying each week. I'm saying daily. Say, hey, share with your family that hey, this is my time. This is the time
Mhm.
I'm going to take for myself. Just give me 10 minutes, give me 15 minutes and I'll be back to you. And I remember growing up, and it was so funny because I grew up in a big family, and the bathroom we only had one, but that's where I would take my book, and I would
Yes.
go to the bathroom and read. And reading for me is that self care time and that
Mhm.
devotional time and things like that. And I love going to the bathroom and reading, and having a magazine in the bathroom and that kind of thing. So if
Yes.
it's bathroom time. You want to go behind closed doors, make it if you make it the bathroom, make it your bedroom, whatever. I know that,
Yes.
that's what worked for me. But like you said, even now, having a community is very important. You mentioned that. And create a community so that we can join together and support each other through and encourage our own self-care. And, I know tomorrow's my birthday, so I'm going to reward myself with something, and actually I rewarded myself today for tomorrow.
All right. Come
Um,
on now.
and I bought myself a book, and the book is something about self-care. It was like, hey, let me, get this piece book, and it has different steps in there that I can take. And I'm just like, oh, this is great, because then I can now focus. I have prompts and everything that I
Mhm.
can get focused on me, and focus on me for at least 5 minutes a day, and looking at going tomorrow to the lake, just to sit there
Mhm.
and just look at the lake and just be there. Take my book, just sit by the lake and read. My husband found a cabin, that trip that we had taken. And I was like, I want to go back to the cabin. I
Yeah.
want to be able to go back to nature and walking through the park. There's several walking trails that are free.
Yeah.
Walking in the park is free. That's what I love about, financial stuff. You don't have to pay that gym membership. You can
Yes.
walk in
Talk
the
about
park.
it.
It's free to walk in the park, and you're walking through nature and just really taking time. A friend of mine told me one day, he says, Janelle, have you ever walked and looked around and seen things that you had never seen before and never noticed that were there? And he says, I want you to go out and walk your neighborhood and look for things that you would drive by normally and not see that are there. And I was so amazed at what I saw. And it just got me present to how unpresent that I am in life.
Yeah.
I am so unpresent. And I present myself in that moment, walking through my community and looking at, oh, that's a nice, oh, those people have that. Oh, I love that flower. And I love the rose bush. And oh my, I took time to smell the roses, smell the
Yes.
flowers.
Yes.
And I'm was amazed, and I reported back because that's what I promised. And I was like, I saw this, this, and this, and I saw that this person had that in their yard, and I saw the roses bush, and I saw the beautiful. There's some landscaping that was just gorgeous, and the green grass, and I mean, it was just like God's creation, just like did a
Yeah.
here I am. Yep, it's been here all the time. And every step that I took and everything, I just was intentional to learn something new about what I had been driving by and just missing. And
Yeah.
it made a huge difference for me, and I appreciate it. I really, really now appreciate being present in the moment and not stepping over my life in a sense, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
I love
But
that.
mhm.
I love that. Nature, no matter where you are, you can find nature. And, even in my storms, when we talk about self care, as crazy as it got, those were the things that always kept me going because Felicia said we have to normalize self care. And when there are things that become a part of your life, it's a lifestyle, it's a mindset. So sometimes you can get caught up in a rut, but you always know where the sources are to tap into. And that's one of the things I always enjoyed is nature, going by the water. I said I love writing, right? Going by the water, finding a new trail to walk each day. I'm in New York City, and there's so many beautiful trails that people overlook. And when you step into
Mhm.
those trails, you forget you're in the city because you have the high, greenery and things around you. So that's important, and it's a good way to center yourself. Also, last weekend, Ariel and I went to this park she loves. It's a family park. I took my pink journal. I made sure she was in her area with her friends. I took off my shoes. I laid back on that bench in the park, and it was the most magnificent feeling because it's so many trees. It's just beautiful. And I just took time for myself right there. Did some
Yeah.
meditation, did some journaling, and Felicia said, absolutely, self care is not selfish. Janelle, let's do something. Let's ask our folks that are joining in to put in a chat and give us some comments about what they do to self care. What do they do?
Okay.
If folks want to share with us what they do, we could continue and then we could check out that chat. But I would love to hear and get people engaged in this conversation,
Okay.
because I saw some good stuff that was being put up there.
Yes,
What are some of
yes.
the things that they do, that you all out there do to self care?
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Felicia, joining us tonight live, and we appreciate your comments. And I know that self care and self improvement a month for the month of September, we wanted to take time out to take care of ourselves and take care of our mind, soul, and body and spirit, and have a conversation about that. And I like what Felicia said earlier, and I don't want to step over it. We can't pour from an empty cup. We mentioned earlier, put the mask on first when you're on the plane before you can help somebody else. And I remember Yana Van Zant saying that our cup is full. And a cup, and I never forget, Bishop Pulley, he had this analogy where he had a cup and a saucer,
Mm,
and he had a pitcher of water, and he poured the water in the cup, but he said the saucer is right there. If I pour too much, if I pour overflow, we have overflow coming with the pitcher of
mhm,
water. So our cup is full as a person, as a human, but we have that saucer underneath because that's to catch the overflow.
mhm.
And like Felicia
I
said, we
like
can't
that.
pour from an empty cup, but when our cup is full, then we get more in it. And guess what? We got the saucer to catch us. And
Yeah.
that catching that saucer, I see as our community. Because our community can catch us in that time when our cup is over, when we feel that overwhelm that come about in our lives, of where, like you said, when I called yesterday, and you found me overwhelmed in my moment and overwhelmed, and you're like, hey sis, I'm pouring into you right now to say, hey, whoa, wait a minute, take a moment, breathe. Is this not that serious? It wasn't that serious. What I was like, oh my gosh,
It was for
it
that moment.
it was for
It was
that
serious to you.
it was.
Janelle, I want to just take a minute because a lot of times when we hear self care, we think about women or you see images of women. But I want to talk about our men for a few minutes. I'm always
Yes.
going to address that. Our men are beautiful,
Yeah.
they are amazing,
Mhm.
but they carry a lot too,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
They're the fixers, they're the protectors. We provide also, but there's a space that they have in that role. And sometimes men are raised that self care is not important. I thank God for the newer generations because they are doing self care. They're getting
Mhm.
together with their brothers, they're bonding, they're having deep conversations. You see men going to get massages more,
Yes.
manicure, pedicures, self care, being more into body products, right? Not just Vaseline. So
You
to the
said
men,
Vaseline.
yeah, to
Yeah,
the
shea
men,
butter. They're buying shea butter. I have
men now they're introducing us to stuff. But I
yeah.
do want to take time to any men that are with us or Timothy or who will listen in later. You take care of yourself also.
Mhm.
You practice that self care also because you need you and we need you and the community needs you, right? And our men have a lot of ailments because of stress, because they carry the weight of the world on their shoulders and their backs.
Mm.
We have to take care of ourselves as women, but we take care of each other. So whether
Yes.
it's your husband, your partner, your brother, right, that friend, check in on them too and remind them to pause and do some self care also, because
Mhm.
we need each other.
We
And
do.
we need our men to self care. We need them to exhale too. I know there was the movie Waiting to Exhale. Well, some of them are waiting to exhale two times. So they need
Yes.
that time to exhale and go out and spend time with nature also and do what they need to do to breathe and be good to themselves and their bodies and their
Mhm.
skin, right? Their feet, their hands, all that stuff. It ain't
Ah,
just about us.
yes, I
Right?
agree.
We all need to self care.
Because I called up a male friend. Call up all your male friends, your female friends that are single, that live alone. This is very, very important. SOS. I'm sending a SOS out for all the single people that you know that live alone, that live by themselves, and and I called a friend of mine up, and he had broke his foot.
Mm.
And I'm calling him up because it was the week before his birthday. I didn't want to miss his birthday, and he's turning 70 years old. And oh, I'm not in a good shape for you to come see me right now because I broke my foot and my house is a mess. And I'm like, you know what? I don't care about that. I'll come clean your house. And it was very important to me. He won't let me in, but that's something. He ain't let me in. He's like, I can't see you right now. I'm a mess, you know. But I'm just like, I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna call you more because I need to make sure that you're okay and check on you, because it's so important that we get so caught up in ourselves and our lives and our daily that we don't. I'm not saying we forget about our friends, but I'm saying what I'm saying is that we don't think about other people in a sense that because we have so much stuff going on for ourselves and our lives and we're keeping it together. But just please, SOS, take time out to phone a friend. Phone a friend. I don't care. They may have a policy you got to call before you come. Sometimes if they don't answer that phone, you may want to just come. And and especially for my single people and that live alone. That's my SOS, and that's my charge and my challenge to everyone listening under the sound of my voice, to call that person who lives alone, to check on them and make sure and see if they are okay.
Yeah. Janelle, I saw some things up in the chat.
Yes.
Let's take a look what we have.
Yes, Felicia says she sits on her porch for 15 to 30 minutes before work each morning.
Mm,
That's
nice.
her self-care.
There you
That's what
go.
she does.
Getting
Yes.
centered before going out in the world. I love it, Felicia.
Yes.
And on the
And
porch, that's a nice space in the open air. Thank you for
yeah,
sharing that.
yes, and I know Timothy's caring for a loved one and had to jump from that conversation, but he joined us for the bit that he could. He's caring for a loved one in the hospital right now, and
Okay.
so we're going to keep him lifted up and keep him encouraged. And I think that we shared something very important for him to consider in being that caregiver.
Yeah.
That he is right now. For his family. And one of the things, when I mentioned pouring from an empty cup and I mentioned that water and overflow, make sure we drink plenty of water throughout the day.
Yeah.
That's so, so important. And when you were mentioning our brothers, it was funny. My husband was like, "Oh, I've got to go get my facial cleanser from the
I
store.
love
I'm
it.
out." And I was like, "Huh?" I was like, "Yeah, that's right. He gives himself a facial. Okay, that's right." And men and women grooming of ourselves and taking time and completing those skincare routines. That's important physical self care.
Sure.
And you mentioned earlier about the mental state. Of course, I share with you that I'm journaling,
Hmm.
and then of course reading, and I picked up a couple of really good books and doing the meditation, and it's just like that mental self care is part of self care too.
Hmm.
To take a digital detox from screens and social media. I there's this do not disturb on the app. I'm sure it's on all phones, but that
Yes.
do not disturb, oh my gosh, I love it because I'm not concerned when I know I turn it on at a certain time when I go to bed, and I'm not concerned. I can get up, wake up the next day, and after I have my prayer, then I'm like, okay, what's the first thing you do besides
Hmm.
um take care of your biology, is picking up the phone and looking at that. But really, connecting with loved ones is another opportunity for emotional self-care, like I mentioned, calling your friends, spending quality time with family, spending quality time with friends. I know it's very important for me to reach out, to do that, to take
Hmm.
time to go. I'm getting some people together on your birthday for my birthday, and
Nice.
just let him know, hey, boom, you're welcome to come through the restaurant, say hi, get a hug. Haven't seen you for a while, and just staying connected with friends, is very, very important. And I'm going to be giving away. I just thought about it. A journal.
Nice.
So, put in the chat. and I'll send you a journal if you want a journal. Like, send me a journal. You don't have to do anything for the journal, but ask for it. Yeah, I have some journals that I ordered, and I will send them out to you as a gift for me to you. I'm putting one in the mail for you, and I saw a journal, and I'll give you a free journal. So,
I
uh,
love it.
let me know. Just put in the chat, journal, DM me, and on the side, and I will connect, and I'll make sure that I get that free journal out to you because I have about 6 or 7 journals. So I will do that as a gift to my audience with
Very
Power
nice.
Fridays Live. So yeah, that's my
Very
gift from me to
nice.
you. That's my yeah, because
I
you know
love
how
it.
we love to give from it's
Yes.
our birthday, but we gifted everybody else on my birthday. I'm sending you a gift, okay?
That's why we're kindred souls, we're kindred spirits, right? We give
Yes,
on our birthdays. I'm trailing you on
yes,
September 28th.
y- yes,
And I tend to do that sometimes. But that's
yes.
just my spirit of gratefulness for the people that are in my life. But I want to say something else, Janelle. Being a mom to a 10-year-old, I raised my hand that I'm single, living alone as far as another adult being in the house, right? It's the
Right.
two of us.
Mhm.
And I'm also mindful of what I mirror for her because she's
Mhm.
looking at me. And I, since she was a baby, make sure I love on her, taking the time not to just bathe her and wash her up, but to massage her feet, to massage her hands, to massage her body, so she gets used to that pure, loving touch. And she
Yes.
would, roll over. We do it this way. I would do her back. And now that she's older, I make sure I do her hair a lot, but then I make sure I take her, make appointments for her at the salon, right? There's a black owned
Yes.
salon just for little girls. And so she gets pampered. I take her sometimes to get her little nails done, her little feet. And then there's some days in the house I do it for her. We use
Oh.
a little foot massager. She's so
Yes.
sweet. I serve her some nice little refreshments and pamper her just
Oh.
so she gets used to self care and taking care of herself, right? So that it
Oh,
becomes,
good.
as Felicia said, it becomes normalized for her, right?
Yes.
And we have to do that, teach our young people sometimes, as you say, detoxing from the digital, being still, taking time to do something else, that cup of tea at night, the journaling. So this is, I hope this is as good for everyone else as it is for us, because as we teach it, we learn it too, you know.
Yes. Yes. To teach it, we learn it. We, share with other people the importance of being the best you. Being the best you. Triumphant is what we want to do, and be triumphant and be all of who we need to be. Be the best me. I want to be the best me I can be.
Yeah.
And to be the best me that I can be, then I have to look in the mirror, as they say, look at the man in the mirror and
Hmm.
tell him to change his ways.
Come on now.
Because no message can be, if you want, what they say, you've got to look at yourself and make the change right now.
Yeah.
We challenge you to make that change today, to take care of yourself, to look at yourself and look at ways to improve yourself, whatever those may be, to enhance your well-being and to enhance your personal growth, to be transformative in your self-care, to enhance your wealth, because everything that we do is a direct correlation to how much money that we have in the bank. I think Jim Rohn
Mm-hmm.
said that.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Rohn said that he talked with the coach, and the coach says, by the way that you take care of yourself, I can pretty much tell you how much money you have in the bank, and down to the penny. And this was on that, and I was like, oh my gosh, because he knew that that person wasn't taking time out for themselves to improve on their self. So each day for 10 to 15 to 30, 20, 30 minutes a day, I encourage everyone to take out time, listen to some motivational tape, listen to something that's going to motivate you. There's a lot of great people out there. We have our Mel Robbins, Tony Robbins, Reverend Ike, Les Brown, Yana Van Zant, Lisa Nichols, just to name a few. And those people can pour into us. There's a lot of reels and videos that are coming up on the Instagram and on the Facebook reels, where people are praying and offering scripture and offering something to help someone to improve on themselves. And, picking up a book, like you said, journaling, reading a book. And I just picked up a couple of devotionals today, Yolanda, from the store, and I'm excited. I'm like super excited about these devotionals that I have, and because whenever I bought the devotionals and the journals, I thought about, this is my self care time. This is what I can't tell someone else what to do without doing it myself. I can't encourage
Right.
someone else to do something without encouraging myself first. And so I encourage myself, and I encourage you out there who are listening. And please share this broadcast with someone, like, subscribe, share this with a friend, hashtag replay if you're watching it on the replay. Do share with us what you are doing, for self care as well. And know that it's important. You are important. I went to my doctor last week, and he's like, "What you doing? What you have for breakfast? What you have for lunch? What you have for dinner?" And he let me know, you can't have those certain things anymore because of how, if you want to have a longevity in life, you can't have certain things.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, like, not reluctantly, but oh my gosh, since he's before the end of that session, he's like, what are you gonna go do now? What are you gonna do now? What are you gonna do differently? And I
Mhm.
was like, not eat any more rice. It was that simple. I'm not gonna
Mhm.
have rice in my diet. It was
Mhm.
that simple to not have rice in my diet. And of course, you go to this restaurant today, and what do they have? Yellow rice on the
Mhm.
menu.
And
And the
we like rice in our culture, right?
uh-huh.
Hoppin'
It's
Johns. I'm a Southern girl. I'm in the North, but my roots are from the South. Hoppin' Johns, that red rice.
yes.
The jambalaya. That's some good stuff. I'm glad you mentioned doctor because that's something I wanted to touch on. Um, Self care is also getting yourself checked out.
Mhm.
And a lot of times we neglect doctor visits because of fear or we suspect something and we don't really want to know. Whatever it is, if there is something, it's already there, so take care of it.
Mhm.
I've had appointments that I didn't keep before, but we have to really be mindful. I know folks that go to the doctor for every little thing. If they get a bump, they're going to the doctor. And I'm not saying run to the doctor for everything, but keep those vital appointments, mammograms, you know, uh, getting the prostate check, all of those things. Make
Mhm.
sure we do that preventive work because it's about longevity and absolutely changing our eating. My eating is just, I sometimes eat food like I don't have a care in the world, right? Because I like what I like. I love to cook. I like to bake. I actually gave up baking because
Mm.
it's just me and Ariel. So unless I'm baking for something, I don't want that in the house. If
Mm.
I'm just gonna have
Yes.
one little sliver, then it's another sliver. If I'm having company, that's one thing. But I started consuming a lot more fruits. I love fruits. I love
Mm.
vegetables. But sometimes we do what's easy. And I
Yes.
have to stop and say, if you really love yourself the way you say you do, you will treat yourself and your body different. We say, I love myself. I love myself. If you really love her, if you really love him, treat her better, treat him better, and be mindful of what we take in, right? I'm not a Muslim, but I listen to different things from different faith backgrounds. And I work with people on a interfaith basis. And one of the things Louis Farrakhan would say is don't live to eat, eat to live.
Yes.
You can learn something from different places. You don't have to agree with everything, but you can learn. And that's something that always sticks with me because I was living to eat, right? What am I having for dinner? What am I having for lunch? I'm planning Sunday dinner on Wednesday, right? Don't live to eat, eat to live.
Yes.
And life goes a long way. Yeah, goes a long way. So I'm feeling good.
Me too. But are those bean pies healthy? That's all I want to know. Are those bean pies healthy? I'm
I
teasing.
have to ask. I have to ask some of my brothers from the mosque.
I
But
just want to know, are the bean pies healthy? Okay, with that
yeah,
comment.
they may be healthier than some things because they have they
Yes.
don't have the preservatives in it and some of those other.
Yes.
things. But girl, don't start talking about bean pies because then I'm thinking of sweet potato pie also.
Oh, that's my
Don't do it.
specialty. Yes, yes. I know. I know.
Don't do it.
So we're going to leave you with this question for the self. What do you do for self-care? Okay, we're going to leave the audience with that. We thank everyone who's joined us under the tonight, and we've had a great conversation, Londa. I appreciate you sharing, being vulnerable with us tonight, and being here. You could be anywhere else in the world, but I do appreciate you joining Financial Power Fighters Live tonight and sharing with us about your self-care journey. I know that it's a constant, and we're still on it. We have some very good strategies that I put in the chat. Let us know what you do for self care. If you want that free journal, just type in, DM me, call me if you have my number, send an email to powerfightingslive@gmail.com. Let me put that. Yes, send an email to powerfightingslive@gmail.com. And before we go, I have to tell everybody about Money Flew Out the Window.
Introducing Mo-
Right? Do I have
Introducing Money Just Flew Out the Window by Janelle Pulley. Get your copy of the book. Money Just Flew Out the Window. It shows you how to manage and build family wealth. Discover how to protect your family and your future. How to build a proper financial foundation. Discover reasons why you have been financially unstable. Why financial freedom is important. How to key into the financial liberty your fellow men who have this knowledge are enjoying. Discover ways to retain the freedom regardless of your income. Support the family without stress. And lots more. Get your copy of Money Just Flew Out the Window now.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much. And I want to share with you that I bought this devotional today. It's called What Your Mind Needs for Anxious Moments. I thought that was like really super great to like share this book, and I'm not endorsed in any way, but I am, sharing this book. It's by Holly Girth. I just picked it up. She's a Wall Street Journal best-selling author. A 60-day guide to taking control of your thoughts. I'm charging myself over the next 60 days. We're coming up on 90 days before the new year, but for the next 60 days, I'm going to be in that book on what your mind needs for anxious moments. 60-day guide to take control of your thoughts. And because we are here and we're closing out, I know, and I appreciate everyone for being on tonight. And thank you so much for joining. Please share this video with a friend. God will meet you where you are today. That is the first entry. So I'm going to read that real quick. God will meet you where you are today. Then the Lord God called to the man, "Where are you?" He
Mm,
replied, "I heard you walking in the garden, so I hid. I was afraid because I was naked." That's Genesis 3 9 through 10. But imagine the most beautiful place you've ever visited. Maybe you watched the sunset at a beach and recall the sky aflame with orange and red, the rhythm of the waves, the smell of the salt. Perhaps you stood at the edge of the Grand Canyon or on the peak of a mountain, the rugged landscape reminding you that God is big and you are small. Whatever comes to mind, it cannot even compare to Eden. There, God gives Adam and Eve everything they need, all they want. But the serpent's question, did God really say, introduces a seed of doubt. It grows until Eve takes a bite of the forbidden fruit, and Adam, who was with her, follows suit. In an instant, everything changes. Innocence turns to shame. Peace gives way to fear. Joy is distorted into despair. For the first time, humanity feels anxious. Anxiety is defined as a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease, typically about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome. It's something we imagine, we just make it up, right? That's not in the book, but here the unknown event is what will happen next. What will God do? In his great tenderness, what God does is go looking for Adam and Eve, and he asks the question, "Where are you?" Adam responds, "I heard you walking in the garden, so I hid. I was afraid because I was naked." We've been responding in similar ways ever since. Anxiety still tells us we have to hide. We may not do so physically, but we hide emotionally. We pretend we're okay. We're fine, just fine. We hold it together on the outside, but while on the inside, we're falling apart. So I'm gonna say that I'm gonna say I'm just gonna skip to God is asking you today, where are you? No matter the answer, He already knows. What He's really asking you is, are you ready to let me meet you where you are today? God wants to free you from the shame, deliver you from fear, and bring you to a new place of overcoming your anxiety. He's calling to your heart even now. He loves you, and even in your most anxious moments, it's time to come out of hiding. And so I wanted to share that today because it was just like, oh my gosh, are you feeling anxious whenever you think about self care? Are we feeling all of those things? Are we feeling the fear? Are we not at peace? And we can be. You can be. And it takes an opportunity for yourself to look in that yourself in the mirror. And this is what I love about Bishop Jack. He tells you, put your arms around yourself and hug yourself. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Okay. I love myself. And I love myself. And you call your name. I love myself, Janelle. I love myself, Janelle. I love myself. Say it 3 times. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to leave you with that tonight. Yolanda, I know you're on mute. And thank you so much. Are there any final words you want to share this evening?
Always a pleasure to spend time with you, sister. I love you, respect you. Happy birthday in advance, but I'll speak to you on that day. I just want everyone to remember nothing's perfect. Our circumstances will never be perfect. Just don't forget you. Just always remember you. Sometimes it may be 1 minute in that day. Take time to remember you and honor your spirit, your soul, your body, and your mind.
Thank you. That was so beautiful. And thank you all for joining us tonight on Financial Power Fighters Live. Be, do, and have the greatness that you desire because the greatness is in you. Take care of yourself and God bless everyone. See you next week. Good night.
Good night, everybody.